first presenter. So we've got Abby Kapple from Yacht Club. She's going to come up and talk to you guys about an amazing community organization here in town. So as you know, and I always talk about it every week, right now the holidays are coming, right? Like we need to do more to give back to the community. There's a lot of people out there that are suffering in 2020 that normally would not be asking for help. And in general, there's a lot of people that need help outside of who we are and what we think we need, right? There's people always suffering greater than we are. So she's going to talk to you about an amazing organization that you guys can help support and obviously drum up some support for our community organizations and just doing part of the greater good this year. So Abby, come on up.
Hi everybody. My name's Abby. I'm a super awkward human, so I'm just going to own it, and that's okay. So
See if you can come closer. So
can hear me too. This is probably easier.
There you go.
Okay, so my name's Abby. I'm almost 31 years old, and I'm kind of lost in my life. And that's okay. I think we've all sort of been there. I'm trying to find the right career path, the right job, the right friends, whatever. One thing that I have found in this community that I love more than anything is the Yacht Club. And have any of you here heard of it at all? A couple people.
You told me about it.
So Yacht Club, we're not a boat. We don't have anything to do with yachts or water or lakes or oceans. We are a toy spelled backwards, Y-O-T. The club was created in 1997 by some young professionals at that time. A couple of them are still involved, but it has evolved over the past 24 years to really turn into a holiday benefit. And what we do is we raise toys and books for Title I school districts in the area. So Title I are statistically the free and reduced lunches. So a lot of these communities are really underserved, and they send their kids to school 2-3 times a day to be fed there because their families can't afford to feed them. So during the holidays, they can't afford to purchase presents for them either. And I know there's a lot of holiday drives going around, and I think it's wonderful. We statistically only focus on the Title I schools. That is what we do, and every year since we have started, we have supported every single Title I school in Colorado Springs. This year is our last Title I school with Midland Elementary. There are 164 students at Midland Elementary that we are trying to raise toys for this year. And the reason why I'm talking to you guys is because we have a holiday party. Every year it's at the mansion. It's huge. We call it Prom for Adults. It's meant to just be a fun time. People come out, they get super dressed up, they bring their books, they bring their toys, and then we provide a bunch of food, drinks, entertainment, and just a big party. And we have a lot of fun at it. We have a silent auction, we do door prizes, we have aerial dancers from the ceiling, we do the fire dancers, it gets really intense. And we have about 650 to 700 people who attend every year. COVID has ruined every single bit of that, and we cannot do that this year. And that means us as an organization had to figure out how to pivot. Now, we're not a 501c3, we're not a nonprofit, we're just a group of people who get together every July and say, okay, it's time to plan the next party. So we're doing this on our free time, and there's nothing else to do when you can't host a party, right? So it's really been trying to figure out how do we support this community when we can't do what we do the best. So I single-handedly this year, out of a committee of about 10 people, everybody backed off and said, we probably shouldn't do it this year, we don't have the time, we're suffering, we don't want to do it. And I'm over here being like, guys, this is probably the year we should be doing it. Like, why are you backing off now? So I, by myself, have organized a toy drive in Colorado Springs. There's about 10 to 12 drop-off locations around the area at local restaurants. The idea being that you can go into one of these restaurants, drop off your book and your toy, and receive some sort of discount, or a buy one get one free beer, or $2 off your total bill, or 10% off, or whatever they're willing to offer. Because our local economy is also suffering. And so I wanted to be able to try to support both, especially with people going into restaurants and ordering to go, or sitting down even just for 5 minutes to get a cup of coffee. Being able to try to support them also supports us. What's breaking my heart is I have been into every single one of these locations, and we've been running for about a week and a half now, and there's hardly any toys in any of these boxes. And we have 164 kids to give presents for. So, I'm over here, my heart is hurting quite a bit. And I'm kind of here just to talk a little bit about why it's so important to support. To Brandy's point, there's so many people who are suffering this year. It's not just those who are in underserved areas. I mean, I'm suffering, some of you guys are probably suffering. It's been a hard year. But I don't think that means we need to give up our duty as citizens in this community to reach out and help those who are suffering just a little bit more. So over the past years, we have donated over 30,000 books and toys to students in Title I school districts. Last year, we had over 1,000 toys that we were able to give to our school, and we had over 500 books that we were able to donate. On top of supporting our school, we also support Early Connections, and we help them with their summer programs. So for those who need daycare center for their kids who may not be able to afford it, they can send them to Early Connections, and Early Connections helps them with education, helps parents have a place for their kids to go and watches them, and then they also bring them books and homework to take home so that they're still getting that education during the summer when they might not necessarily have it. On top of that, we support Youth for Christ. And Youth for Christ is an organization here that supports incarcerated youth whose parents or families have walked out on them. And so we donate money directly back to them so that they can help these kids who are incarcerated get better, find the help that they need so that they can get out of the system. Because without that, they just end up right back into it. So on top of helping all of these kids, we're also helping several huge organizations in the area that don't necessarily get a lot of love in other times of the year.
Oh, we'll open it up for Q&A. Sorry, I had to reset the timer.
So first off, kudos to you. I want to give you a big round of applause. Abby, for someone to see the need in our community and rather than back away and you step forward, that's important and that's big. So you may feel lost in your life right now, but I think your life is pulling you in a direction that's very positive and you're making an impact. So I'd like to know from you, how the heck can all of us get toys to you?
Yeah, so we have drop-off locations all across Colorado Springs, depending on where you're at, where you frequent, where you go the most. So we are on Facebook, facebook.com/YOT Club. It lists every location. But downtown we have Springs Orleans, we have The Famous, we're working with Amanda's Fonda, Golden Corral, we have Nectar Juice Bar, Field House, Vita Brewing Company, Stir. So we have a lot of different locations that are, here to help, and they have boxes. They're cute. I made them all myself. They're all wrapped in Christmas paper, and you can just go in and drop a book or a toy off.
Now, you said elementary school, so K through 6. What are some kind of hot items? Like, I don't have children, so I don't really know how much to shop for, but what are some hot items that kids might want in that age range this year?
Yeah, so I don't have kids either, so I'm probably not necessarily the right person to ask. But, every year that I go, I always try to buy a gift for a boy and a girl. So usually like a Hot Wheels and maybe a Barbie or like a cute stuffed animal and a Nerf gun or things like that. I cannot explain to you, if you haven't been to our event and haven't seen it, we set up a huge Christmas tree at the back of the mansion and people come in and they drop their gifts around it and the whole backstage is covered. And we've had people bring in bikes. We've had people bring in Barbie dream houses. We've had people donate like ginormous, like those little trike things that you can pedal around. And so, you can be anything that you're willing to give.
How can we become one of these locations?
You can talk to me, and I'd love to help you.
How did you get involved with Yacht in the beginning? Obviously looking for a way to get back to the community, but why children? Why this cause? What drew you to it?
So that's an interesting question. It kind of goes back into my personal story, but for about 6 years I worked in the news industry. That was my job. I was an executive producer for a local station here, and I walked out on a 3-year contract because of reasons. And I was trying to figure out what to do during that time, and I found a mentor, and her name is Carol Campbell. I don't know if any of you know her in the area, but she's an amazing woman. And she looked at me and said, I really don't know you, but I'm going to help you. And for the past 4 years, she's kind of taken me under her wing, and I've learned a lot from her. And I still talk to her once a week. She's still my mentor. I run ideas past her. She knew the original creators of this event. One of them is Aiden Ryan, who is now the marketing director at the airport. And Aiden, because she got that job, could not sustain doing the Yacht Club anymore, and she needed some people to come in and help. And Carol said, I know somebody. And she brought myself in and 2 other ladies. And we both sat down and talked with Aiden for about 3 hours to was understandably not wanting to let go of the reins, but was like, I have to, and I really have to trust that you guys can do this. And so that first year, it was the three of us and one man named Chad who also started the event, and we pulled it off just the four of us. And since then, I've just been involved because I love being able to throw a party. I'm not gonna lie, I love going to a good party, but I also just love being able to support these schools. And I wouldn't say I necessarily have a drive to, you know, I wasn't a poor child, like I don't really have a connection on the back end, but Christmas is my favorite season because I love to support the community. I love to give back. I'm not that person that's like, give me presents. I'm the person like, here's 500 things you probably didn't need, but like, I love you, so it's okay. And so for me, this was that opportunity to not only be able to give back, but then to actually put my, you know, voice behind it and my everything behind it and show that this is what I'm about. And so that's sort of how I got involved in the long-winded way. However, last year, I will tell you, I saw, he was about a 6-year-old boy who came to the school, because normally we do a big assembly at the schools and the kids can come in and they can come pick out their presents with their family. And this little boy came up to me and he said, I need some help. And I said, okay, what do you need help with? And he said, I need to pick a toy for my sister, but I don't know what she likes. And I said, well, what about a toy for yourself? And he said, I don't need anything for me, I just need something for my sister. And I started crying. I mean, you have these kids who are so, like, they're just not selfish. They just want to be there for their own family too. And like, that was kind of the heartstrings where I was like, okay, we're actually doing something good here.
You mentioned that you're not nonprofit and you're not for-profit, so how are you all funded?
Yeah, so when we use Early Connections and Youth for Christ, they're kind of our beneficiaries on the nonprofit side. So every check that comes to us for this cause, it goes directly to them. So that way they're also able to issue a tax credit. And then they sort of write the check back to us when we need to get stuff for the party or anything like that. And then on the back end, we then donate the money back at the end of the night, so that we're able to give back to them. So last year we did almost $5,000 to Youth for Christ and almost $10,000 back to Early Connections. I have, and it's sort of been a dream of mine that I'm pursuing in different areas, even if it's just to create the 501c3 so the money's not so convoluted and back and forth.
Okay. So you said this year you kind of have been going on your own and it's a little late in the game, but other than bringing toys or being a location where they can drop them off, what other things do you need help with this season?
So we are getting a entry at the Festival of Lights this year. So this year, since it's a drive-through, we're hoping that people will be able to bring some books and toys to that event as well, and then we can go and pick them up from there. So it just gives us one kind of last location to hopefully drum up some support for it. But that's all we do. That's all we do is books and toys. So once this is over, like we won't be back till next year.
So are you the only one that's going and picking the toys up from these locations?
Yeah.
So do you need, that's what I'm asking you, what other help do you need? Because that's a big undertaking for one person.
Yeah. Luckily, I have a committee of young professionals behind me from the Women's Chamber, and they all have very big hearts as well, and so they have offered to help pick up the toys for me. The only problem is there's no toys in any of these boxes.
And it's exactly like, as far as toys, new, used, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, so normally we say new and unwrapped, but this year I just think because it's such a weird year, we're willing to accept, used toys as long as they're still in good condition. Same with books as well.
What's our deadline to get stuff to you?
So December 6th is the last day of the drive, because then we give back to the school the next week.
Are you leveraging any local press, like newspaper, television?
Yeah, so I was on Fox 21 last week. They're great supporters of us. Unfortunately, I don't really know if it did much. I'll be on Mountain Country tomorrow. They're also a big supporter of us. But as far as everything else, like the Gazette and the Indy, they don't cover us unless we're having our party. So that's kind of been the hard thing.
Other than physically donating toys and books, can they donate money, and how would they do that? Where would they go to?
So we wouldn't accept any money this year. If they wanted to donate money, I would just honestly suggest to pick a nonprofit in the area and donate that money directly to them. I'm not saying don't go to Early Connections or don't go to Youth for Christ, because there, of course, are beneficiaries, but we can't accept any money. We can only accept the tangible items.
What does Christmas look like for these kids if you don't hit your goal?
Yeah, so if we don't hit our goal, I mean, these kids don't have a Christmas. I mean, they're probably at home trying their best to have one, but without us, they don't have toys or presents or anything to unwrap because they're just trying to figure out how to feed their family. And Brandy, to your point, you know, a lot of these families coming to Care and Share for Thanksgiving meals and Christmas meals, these are also the families that are going to those and saying, I need some help because I can't afford to feed my family during the holidays.
Questions? So you mentioned that you do things throughout the year, or is it only Christmas?
Only Christmas.
I'm kind of disappointed. I want a second prom.
I know, right?
Well, I'm hoping if all,
2021, right?
well, if all goes well, we'll have a summer soiree, because I love the word soiree. And then we can maybe hopefully turn that into something this year.
I don't
Well,
know stats and cultural syndrome or conferences.
Maybe you already answered this, but where can we find the locations that already exist?
yeah, so just facebook.com/yacht club, YOT club. Make sure it's of Colorado Springs, because there's a couple others that aren't in the area. But it has a flyer with all of the drop-off locations on it right now.
YOT Club.
YOT club.
Now, would you be willing to be back here on December 2nd and pick up toys from here?
Absolutely. I would definitely do that.
All right, you guys, it's time to rally, December 2nd.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
Any other questions?
I think you got us right in our field.